They called it the upset of the century. It happened here, off Newport, Rhode Island, where every 3 years, men from nations around the world have gathered with their million-dollar computer-guided boats to fight for a prize. The oldest prize in international sport, the America's Cup.
We're attacking.
For over a century, it has caused men to spend years of their lives and small fortunes in an obsessive determination to win at all costs. In the spring and summer of 1983, no less than 4 boats, their skippers and crews from all over the country, contend for the coveted position of defender of the America's Cup. And 7 boats from around the world arrive in Newport to challenge for the trophy. Italy, Canada, France, Great Britain, and Australia.
I believe the reason America's Cup goes on, particularly now, is that the Americans have never lost, and we feel that we want to keep the tradition going. It's a very long tradition, I believe the oldest in the sport.
It's really very special because the United States has held this trophy for 132 years, and there's something really unique about that long winning streak.
All these companies felt that this could be a good idea from the publicity point of view.
The America's Cup is the most important, the greatest event in sailing world.
It's also very interesting to be involved in the defense of the longest winning streak in sporting history.
This is the one sailing event which the Americans still hang on to.
Hyde Park, London. Across the quiet waters of the Serpentine is the setting in 1851 for the greatest exhibition the world has seen, the first World's Fair. Its purpose is to show off Britain's industrial technology. Other countries participate, including the United States of America.
Yankee Doodle went to town, his goods for exhibition. Everybody ran him down and laughed at his position.
One of Britain's trade rivalries with America is in commercial shipping. For 50 years, the competition has been fierce between the Yankee and British clipper ships like the Cutty Sark, now permanently moored at Greenwich in England. The Cutty Sark and the other great clippers strive desperately to break time records across the 7 oceans for their precious cargoes of spices, silks, tea, and sugar. Every line of their design is bent on increasing speed without sacrificing the strength needed to round the furious capes of Hope and Horn. The competition is not merely in trade ships. On both sides of the Atlantic, wealthy yacht owners wager large sums on private races. With boats often ramming or tangling in each other's rigging, the racers are not always friendly or sportsmanlike. Yachting in England is largely the prerogative of a privileged aristocracy, whose bastion is the Royal Yacht Squadron at Cowes on the Isle of Wight. For the great exhibition, a series of friendly races is scheduled by the squadron. The Commodore sends an invitation to the newly formed New York Yacht Club to send over an American yacht. The invitation is enthusiastically accepted by the club's founder and Commodore John Cox Stevens. His syndicate partners include George Schuyler, grandson of a famous Revolutionary War general. Fighting the British is in their blood. Stevens and his partners have already commissioned a yacht. The designer, George Steers, promises the yacht will be faster than any her size or he will refuse the $30,000 payment. In keeping with both patriotism and bravado, they name the yacht America.
Yankee Doodle had a craft, a rather tiny clipper, and he challenged how they laughed the British hope to whip her.
The yacht America is an innovation in yacht design, with her long, lean bow and light cotton sails lashed tightly to her tall raked masts. Such is the effect when she arrives at Cowes, the London Times comments,
"The apparition off West Cowes amongst the yachtsmen seems to have been completely paralyzing, like a hawk amongst pigeons."
She is so fast that none of the sporting gentlemen at Cowes will take Commodore Stevens' $20,000 wager.
Yankee Doodle came to Cowes with temper rather skittish, stick and trim from stern to bows and bound to up the British.
Finally, the Royal Yacht Squadron creates a special race. It will be the first international sporting competition, open to all nations for a silver cup valued at £100. The race is to be around the Isle of Wight off the south of England, a distance of some 50 miles. America and 14 British yachts of many sizes line up at anchor. At 10 o'clock, the gun is fired. America is last off the start as the fleet of yachts leave her behind.
During the first 5 minutes, not a sound was heard, save perhaps the beating of our anxious hearts or the slight ripple of the water upon her sword-like stem. The captain was crouched down upon the floor of the cockpit, his seemingly unconscious hand upon the tiller, with his stern, unaltering gaze upon the vessel ahead.
At St. Catherine's Point, the weather thickens. In the fog, America loses sight of the other yachts. But as the fog begins to clear, she finds the Needles Point ahead of her, and the fleet of British yachts far behind. Beyond the Needles, the Royal Yacht and Queen Victoria await the outcome of the race.
Who is first?
America, Your Majesty.
Who is second?
There is no second, ma'am.
Oh.
After a grueling 10.5 hours, America crosses the finish line, far ahead of the other yachts.
Their whole yacht squadron she outsped, and that on their own water. Of all the lot she went ahead, and they came nowhere after.
The British are incredulous, and even search for a hidden propeller on America. The Americans are ecstatic and hail the victory as a national triumph. The highly ornate silver trophy crosses the Atlantic, where it has been known ever since as the America's Cup. George Schuyler, on behalf of the syndicate, gives the cup to the New York Yacht Club, providing that
any organized yacht club of any foreign country shall always be entitled to claim the right of sailing a match for this cup.
Stevens unsentimentally sells America soon after the race. 19 years after America's victory at Cowes, James Ashbury, a railroad millionaire from the north of England, decides to win back the cup, thinking it would help his political career. Ashbury finds himself up against 16 American yachts on a course in New York Harbor, from inside the Narrows out to Sandy Hook light vessel and back, a course in notoriously tricky waters. He is soundly beaten. Even Schuyler feels it is unfair.
To sail a fleet against a challenging vessel renders the America's trophy useless as a challenge cup.
Chairman of the 1983 British Challenge, Peter de Savary.
The biggest problem facing a challenger for the America's Cup is clearly the fact that it's an away match. You're thousands of miles away from home in a strange environment with strange conditions, weather and sea alike.
Defending tactician, Gary Jobson.
The reason I believe the foreigners have lost is perhaps in the early days of the Cup, the deck has been stacked against foreign challengers.
James Ashbury returns with a new boat and threatens to challenge 12 times, once for each of the yacht clubs to which he belongs. In response, the New York Club agrees to race only one defending yacht. But it is to be chosen each morning from 4 different boats to best suit the weather and sea conditions. The defending boat sails around the mark the opposite way. Ashbury contests the race but is overruled. He goes home empty-handed and outraged, vowing that the next time he'll bring a lawyer. The cup is considered unwinnable, and 15 years go by before a challenge is gladly welcomed from Canada. Skipper of the 1983 Canadian Challenge, Terry McLaughlin.
From what I understand, I don't think the Canadian boat was too fast last time it raced the Americans.
An ill-prepared boat is sent down from the Canadian lakes by a self-promoting naval architect named Cuthbert. The New York Yacht Club does agree to only one defender throughout the matches, but the Canadian is soundly defeated. Cuthbert tries again with a new boat, which is not much better than the last one. He is easily beaten, but, undaunted, he declares he will keep trying until he wins. Horrified, the New York Yacht Club hurriedly changes the rules and stops him. The boom of American prosperity in the second half of the 19th century produces men of extraordinary wealth and fairly simple philosophy.
I will be perfectly satisfied with you, son, if you will always go to bed at night with more money than when you got up that morning.
Their favorite hobby and form of one-upmanship is extravagant yachting. Vanderbilt, Astor, Morgan, names which will dominate the yacht club and the cup races for generations. Cornelius Vanderbilt, ambitious and uncultured, was worth $11 million at the time America won her trophy. Unaccepted by New York good society, he filled the luxurious staterooms of his huge yacht with his large family and made a grand tour of Europe. J. Pierpont Morgan, financier extraordinaire, built a series of giant corsair yachts and dominated the yachting scene as much as he did the stock exchange. When asked how much it would cost to own a yacht, Morgan replies,
"You have no right to own a yacht if you have to ask that question."
The next challenge comes from the Royal Yacht Squadron and the dashing Sir Richard Sutton. Sutton's fast cutter Genesta has the New York Yacht Club so concerned they invite defender entries from other American yacht clubs. Boston designer Edward Burgess comes to the rescue. The Puritan is snidely called the Boston Bean Boat by New York, but she outsails all the New York boats. At the start, Puritan cuts across Genesta and splits a sail. Sutton is offered a walkover, but gallantly declines it. He loses the remaining races, but is hailed a gentleman and great sportsman. Ireland now fields a champion, Lieutenant William Henn. An intrepid military man, Henn decides to battle for the cup. Or is it in fact the idea of Mrs. Henn, who sails everywhere with him as first mate? Their boat Galatea is an eccentric combination of a Victorian parlor and a menagerie. Peggy the monkey spends 2 races screaming at the stern of American defender Mayflower, another Burgess masterpiece. The following year, the Scots issue a challenge from the Clyde with Thistle, a great sail-carrying brute. The steam yacht accompanying Thistle across the Atlantic is loaded with pipers, haggis, and enough scotch to overflow the cup they've come to take. Burgess's Volunteer has an easy victory amid angry protest from the challengers. Prompted by the constant protests of challengers, the officers of the New York Yacht Club draw up a lengthy new deed of gift. Challengers must give 10 months' notice and give exact dimensions of their boats. The new deed frightens off all challengers except one. From the aristocratic ranks of the Royal Yacht Squadron, a challenge is issued on behalf of the Right Honourable Wyndham Thomas Wyndham, Earl of Dunraven and Mount Earl of Dunraven Castle, Limerick, Ireland, and his yacht, Valkyrie. The defending yacht is financed by wealthy C. Oliver Iselin and designed by Nathaniel Herreshoff. Valkyrie is defeated by the clever management of Iselin, who adds 70 men to his crew as movable ballast, and by a sudden squall which rips Valkyrie's spinnaker. When Dunraven challenges again, Herreshoff uses aluminum for the first time in building the Defender, for a syndicate which includes Iselin, 2 Vanderbilts, and 2 Morgans. The race is fraught with controversy, including a foul at the start of the second race and Dunraven's refusal to sail the third. Dunraven accuses the New York Yacht Club of foul play. The American press have a heyday.
His mind is unhinged. Much defeat seems to have made him mad. Mr. Iselin is a gentleman and a sportsman. He is incapable of fraud.
The committee is unanimous in finding no grounds for Dunraven's charges. Skipper Tom Blackaller.
I would say the rules have been very slanted toward the Americans.
And, of course, that the American defender interprets the deed of gift under which the rules are established for sailing the event.
Such acrimony could easily have ended the contest for good, but for the appearance of the irrepressible Sir Thomas Lipton. Lipton left his father's small shop in Glasgow to work in America. He didn't make his fortune there, but he learned what many others failed to notice, the power of advertising and promotion. He returned to Glasgow and applied his knowledge lavishly. His shop grew to a nationwide chain of stores and a worldwide empire of provisions and teas. Lipton sets his heart on winning the cup. He challenges 5 times through the Royal Ulster Yacht Club and builds 5 yachts, all named Shamrock in deference to his Irish ancestry. He spends a fortune, but he is up against ruthless men who are devoted to creating and managing vast empires of industry and finance. By the turn of the century, the New York Yacht Club, with its windows like a galleon's stern, had become a bastion of magnates. The list of commodores and prominent members reads like a roster of power in commerce. A resentful Bostonian said they were men who
know no law but might, admit no God but self, and whose code is, get there.
building a yacht to defend the enshrined cup cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, the equivalent of millions today. Chairman of 1983 Defender Courageous Syndicate, curtain rod manufacturer Chuck Kirsch.
We've projected our costs pretty carefully from the beginning, and we estimated it would be just under $4 million.
The whole challenge is something around $5 million.
We believe that by the end of the season, the gross cost will have been about $8 million.
I'm here to spend the money, not to get it.
Tommy Lipton's second Shamrock races against the Morgan-backed Columbia. Morgan gives inventor Thomas Edison camera positions on board his yacht Corsair to record this unique footage taken from paper prints. Lipton again finds the cup beyond reach. The huge yachts require a small army to sail, are clumsy, frequently damaged, and prohibitively expensive. Lipton asks that the cup races be sailed in the smaller J-class yachts. And the New York response is to build the biggest boat ever to defend the America's Cup, the gigantic Reliance, 144 feet long, carrying 16,000 square feet of sail and towering 196 feet into the air. Shamrock 3 is no match for the skillfully managed pyramid of sail. And Lipton again goes home, heartbroken and empty-handed. He may not be winning races, but he is winning the hearts of the American people. Aside from occasional dinners at the White House, Lipton likes to keep the company of celebrities like Jack Dempsey and cowboy star Tom Mix. The determined bachelor Lipton is rumored to be engaged to half the young women in society, including Rose Fitzgerald, later Kennedy. It isn't till 1920 that he can again court the one great love of his life. The defending champion is Boston blue blood Charles Francis Adams, Secretary of the Navy and descendant of two presidents of the United States, John Adams and John Quincy Adams. Adams is the first amateur to take the helm of a cup defender, the Harrashoff-designed Resolute. Lipton again finds the cup nailed fast. 1929. Morgan looks down on Wall Street as the crash brings chaos to the financial institutions and people of America. Conditions for the races change dramatically. The great mammoths become extinct, and the handicapping of different sizes and weights is ended. The new boats are smaller, elegant craft, built to a standard regulation ruling known as the J-class. The course of the race is moved to Newport, Rhode Island, summer resort of millionaires. Newport became fashionable in the 1890s when Nancy Astor, the Vanderbilts, and the fabled 400 became regular visitors and built lavish summer homes to entertain in. These mock palaces are always referred to as cottages. Built in 1902 for some $11 million, Marble House in 1930 is the home of one of the great champions of the America's Cup, Harold K. Vanderbilt, known as Mike. Vanderbilt is a modern man with a vast inherited fortune. Being a true amateur sportsman is not sufficient for Vanderbilt. There are 4 syndicate boats vying to defend the cup, and he manages his campaign with single-minded purpose and a ruthless determination to win. His understanding of men and materials turns the yacht Enterprise into a formidable racing machine, run to the highest professional efficiency. Designed by Starling Burgess, son of Edward Burgess, she has a lightweight aluminum mast which requires much less ballast, and an innovative wide boom which allows a better shape for the mainsail. Enterprise and America await Lipton's last stand.
I've made several efforts to get that blooming old mug, but I hope this year I will be successful.
Lipton is confident Shamrock 5 is the boat which will take the Cup. The new battlefield for the Cup off Newport is 9 miles out to sea, around a 30-mile triangle and a windward-leeward course. The muddled and unhappy crew of Shamrock 5 are totally outclassed by Vanderbilt's tightly drilled Scandinavians from Maine. Vanderbilt wins all 4 races. Tommy Lipton has become so popular that in the depth of the Depression, the American public donate money for a gold cup for the world's best loser. It is presented by dashing gentleman Jimmy Walker, mayor of New York.
The symbol of the admiration, the esteem, and the affection in which you are held by the American people.
The effects of the crash of '29 are taking their toll. Over 2,000 banks have liquidated. 8 million are unemployed. Money is in short supply, even among the super wealthy. However, when a challenge arrives from the Royal Yacht Squadron, Mike Vanderbilt manages to finance a new J-boat, Rainbow.
Endowed with the coveted honor of defending the America's Cup, the sleek beauty under racing canvas glides swiftly over the 30-mile course with Commodore Vanderbilt at the wheel. On Rainbow's flawless performances rest the hopes of Uncle Sam and the prayers of the 17 patriotic millionaires who defrayed the cost of building her.
Mike meets his match in British aviation magnate T.O.M. Sopwith. Sopwith understands technology and aerodynamic design and knows how to use it. He started flying at the dawn of aviation. The impressive performance of his fighter planes in the First World War established Sopwith as a major force in the aircraft industry, from its earliest beginnings to the Harrier jump jet.
Aboard the formidable contender Endeavour, both yacht and crew are put through strenuous rehearsal by skipper T.O.M. Sopwith. For the first time in the history of the America's Cup, England is favored to win.
Included in the crew is Sopwith's wife, who acts as tactician, timekeeper, and occasional helmswoman.
Looking down Endeavour's new mainmast of steel that will bear the stress of her enormous mainsail and balloon spinnakers. Well, what do you think the result will be?
That's in the lap of the gods. But we hope to do our best to keep it in this country.
Good morning, Mr. Sopwith. Morning, Mr. Vanderbilt. This is probably the last time we shall have the pleasure of meeting till we meet on the starting line.
Sopwith wins the first race by 2 minutes. When he wins the second in a record time for the course, the Cup looks truly vulnerable for the first time in 80 years. President Roosevelt joins the spectators to watch. Record crowds wait to see if Mike Vanderbilt will go down in history as the man who lost the Cup.
In the third race, Endeavour rounds the mark 6.5 minutes ahead of Rainbow. Mr. Sopwith, however, is guilty of a fatal error on the run home when he puts in a tack in order to keep well up to windward. His winning position is then turned into a losing one, and Mr. Vanderbilt's yacht is victorious by 3.5 minutes.
Rainbow wins the fourth race as well, amid the first protest flag since Dunraven and great bitterness on Sopwith's part. Rainbow improves all the time, and the challenger loses pace, heart, and his chance of Cup glory. Sopwith protests that the New York Yacht Club's rulings are simply technical trivialities.
We have left behind us many very kind friends in America. In spite of not being able to see eye to eye with the New York Yacht Club on the interpretation of some of their rules, I hope that we shall be able to reach agreement within the near future.
The attraction of the ornate trophy sitting tantalizingly in the New York Yacht Club overcomes the bad feeling, and the two combatants meet again 3 years later. This time, however, Mike Vanderbilt lays out a cool $500,000 to have the fastest boat of its class in the world. Starling Burgess is joined by a young designer who will dominate the America's Cup for the next 45 years, Olin Stevens. Stevens and Burgess make the best use of scientific analysis in a test tank. The result is Ranger. Even her bow is snubbed off to save weight. This magnificent racing machine is so fast, she wins all 4 races against Sopwith's new Endeavour. The end of the 1930s, with the outbreak of war, sees an end to the beautiful J-boats. Since 1958, the America's Cup races have been contested by less expensive boats, a quarter the size of the J's, classed under the 12-meter rule. The classification is a complex equation of waterline length, girth, draft, and sail area, which must result in 12 meters. Terry McLaughlin.
12 meters are not as big as the J-boats used to be, but certainly they're still quite majestic yachts, very sleek and thin and long and very powerful, and I think that's certainly very attractive to probably sailors and non-sailors.
George Hinman.
These 12s, they just go through the water so effortlessly and so fast that it's just a beautiful thing that one never forgets.
Until the late 60s, the 12-meter boats are constructed of wood in the traditional method. Olin Stevens worked on his first solo America's Cup design. For the first time, the challenging boat does not have to withstand an Atlantic crossing on its own bottom. The British Challenger can afford only one new 12-meter boat, Scepter. The Americans respond with 4 boats and select the Olin Stevens-designed Columbia after the trial races. These smaller boats bring out tight, aggressive racing. Although the crews are now all amateur, the American selection trials tune up the Defender's crew to a professional level, and they sail away easily from the unpracticed Challenger. On the other side of the world, the bubbling energies of Australia turn to the untakeable prize. Sailing here has been confined to dinghy or ocean racing. No one has ever sailed such a complicated boat as a 12-meter. The designer, Alan Payne, has to start from scratch. The challenge is issued by Australian newspaper tycoon Sir Frank Packer. Once the amateur heavyweight boxing champion of Australia, owner of racehorses and a ruthless polo player, Packer was knighted for building a major publishing and television empire. Meanwhile, in Newport, oilman Emil Mosbacher, known as Bus, is selected to defend for America. President Kennedy watches Mosbacher beat the Australians in the first race. Disappointed, Packer fires his skipper, then his navigator. With his new skipper, Sturrock, Gretel becomes the first Challenger to win a race in 28 years. Gretel is the faster boat, but the Australians don't have the experience to use her properly. Bus Mosbacher outmaneuvers Sturrock and wins in brilliant style. The New York Yacht Club again changes the rules. All boats must be constructed from materials originating in their home countries. Subsequently, the Americans have no trouble in easily defeating a British challenge skippered by naturalist Peter Scott, and a second challenge from Australia. America maintains her superiority in management, finance, and materials. The greatest advantage in materials lies in the sails, constantly developed from new synthetic fibers and coatings which are lighter, water-resistant, and hold their shape better than the traditional cotton. Computers are now used to calculate the three-dimensional shapes which become the wind-filled sails. Sir Frank Packer has one last unsuccessful try. When he retires from the America's Cup arena, the Australian banner is taken up by the most dangerous challenger yet, Alan Bond. Originally from the East End of London, Alan Bond arrived in Australia at the age of 13 and worked as a sign painter. Now he is a real estate multimillionaire developing a huge resort near Perth in Western Australia. Team manager Brian Leary.
A lot of Mr. Bond's money and all my time. And heaven help anybody that steps out of line.
France enters the fray, financed by Baron Marcel Bich. Bich's fortune was made from the Bic ballpoint pen, of which 12 million a day are sold worldwide. Much of the Bic fortune has gone to finance his challenges for the America's Cup. When his boat, France, starts to lose trials against Australia, the skipper is thrown off and Bich himself takes the helm in full dress uniform. Unfortunately, the immaculate commander sails straight into a Newport fog and loses his way and his chance of winning. Sweden also tries a couple of times in an unusual boat with a tiller instead of a wheel and pedal-driven winches. But the invading Vikings, despite a valiant try, return without their booty. Defending the America's Cup is becoming so expensive that the syndicates set up non-profit organizations for tax-deductible donations towards the defense. The 70s also see the traditional preserve of the East Coast establishment invaded by new blood from Georgia and California.
You're about 2 minutes from the line right now.
Ted Turner, brash, outspoken owner of the Atlanta Braves baseball team and pioneering entrepreneur of his own cable network, is intensely disliked by some of the old guard.
The manager of my baseball team says you spell fun, W-I-N.
He has nearly refused membership of the New York Yacht Club, but they need his talents as a skipper.
How long with these legs already go?
He is known as the Mouth.
I think we basically have a desire to beat each other's brains out. And it's a lot better than going to war or shooting it out in the streets.
In 1974, Turner's tactician is Californian Dennis Conner. They lose the defense trials to the cool-headed Easterner, Bob Bevere. The boat which wins the start of a race has a tremendous advantage and can often keep that lead all the way to the finish.
It doesn't really matter what time you get to the starting line. The important thing is to get to the starting line ahead of the other boat. And you'll see the boats a lot of times will go in circles trying to get on the other boat's stern. And the reason for this is that the rules prohibit a boat that is ahead from either tacking or jibing when it will interfere with the boat behind. And the whole idea of getting on the other boat's stern is so you can push him beyond the extremities of the line and then pick your own time to come back, which means that the boat that was ahead becomes the boat that's behind, the boat that was behind becomes the boat that's ahead. It's all over, baby!
Ted Turner returns in '77, sails superbly in the trials, and is selected to defend the Cup. For the winners, there is nothing but celebration. But no matter how many millions are spent, how well prepared the crew, how good the skipper, in the America's Cup races, the unexpected always calls a few shots. Sails get snarled up, men fall overboard and must be retrieved. Even a bee sting can require an emergency airlift. Inevitably, there are several crews and their skippers for whom months of devotion and hard work don't pay off.
I saw the committee boat coming over, and it was a rather eerie feeling. The chairman, Mr. Hinman, extended his hand and said something to the effect, well, Malin, thank you very much for all you've done for us. We appreciate your efforts. And he didn't say that we were eliminated or we could go home, but his words were rather obvious nevertheless.
In 1980, neither Turner nor the other American syndicates are prepared for the level of professionalism demonstrated by Dennis Conner.
Oh, this is going to be pretty good. Kind of get the heart going a little bit more this morning.
the drapery manufacturer from San Diego plans and executes a meticulous campaign with his yacht, Freedom.
I think you like that for openers.
1983 is the year of the 25th defense of the America's Cup. The New York Yacht Club lifts restrictions on the country of origin of materials and attracts a record number of challengers. Italy has used all her flair and style to make a dazzling debut in the Cup races with the elegant, fast Azzurra. She is backed by a consortium of sponsors led by the fabulously wealthy Aga Khan and Gianni Agnelli, head of Fiat. France's challenge is now without Baron Bich. The 1983 France with skipper Troublé is financed by the producer of the pale blue movie, Emmanuel. This time, money is not a problem for the British. Syndicate chairman Peter de Sabry is a 38-year-old entrepreneur whose dealings in international markets have made him a moderate fortune.
So, Vanessa, you've got to tell me how much you sold this morning.
Well, that's not too bad yet.
You taking any money?
First day, yes, we've taken a few dollars here and there.
Have you? Good.
He maintains 15 support vessels, of which the fleet commander's nerve center is his luxury yacht, Charisma.
Taking any money? Yeah? Go.
Presumably now we're covered basically with the rigging other than the new Cobalt rigging.
Yeah.
How much is that going to cost?
Oh, don't ask. That's 3 times the price of normal rigging.
3 times?
Yeah. But we've only got 1.5 sets.
What is a normal set of rigging cost?
$12,000.
No, you're joking.
No.
What, this is $40,000 for the rigging?
For one racing set of rigging. That's why we haven't used it before. That's why we don't use it until we go into serious competition.
In marked contrast is the 1983 Canadian effort.
Yeah, we've had our problems. We stopped sailing for 6 months last year due to financial constraints, i.e. no money.
The crew is very young, with an average age of 25, but they are fired by enormous enthusiasm. Alan Bond has spent $16.5 million on his 3 previous challenges. This costly experience has produced the current Australia 2. Its mysteriously revolutionary hull and keel, designed by Ben Lexon, is always kept under cover.
It seems to me that they're not going to change their past performances, and if the going gets rough, they'll change the rules again to suit themselves. And I'm hoping that very, very shortly they'll get the message that we're here to win the Cup, and all their quiet shenanigans, as far as I'm concerned, won't deter us one bit.
In fact, Bond's speedy, highly maneuverable boat, skippered by John Bertrand, is favored to beat all the challengers, even to win the Cup itself. On the American side, the man who beat Bond in 1980, Dennis Conner, is back with a new boat, Liberty, and companion, Freedom.
My basic philosophy is that if you eliminate all your excuses, you're going to sail at a very high level of your potential. And that seems to work with all the people involved, and so we just try to be very thorough and have the best boat, the best equipment, the best organization, the best sails, and we found that to be a very tough combination to beat.
And the rival American syndicate with new boat Defender and champion 10-year veteran Courageous. Both boats are entered as possible defenders. Navigational aids have come a long way in the last 50 years. 12 meters are now equipped with computer guidance systems.
Well, we're doing what we believe is an advanced computer program, which is basically a tactical onboard computer on the 12-meter with a telemetric transfer of information to a larger computer on the tender, which has the ability to analyze in real time and present information on a TV screen.
I wouldn't say that we're computer fanatics on Defender.
I would say an old-fashioned 12-meter skipper would find it fairly difficult to get used to.
I don't like it myself very much because I'm afraid soon a computer will be able to steer a 12 meter, so there will be no more place for me on board.
The America's Cup brings over $70 million to the economy of Newport. So, if a challenger does win the Cup...
Well, I've heard a lot of jokes about that, and even to the point that the head of the chairman would roll, so I hope that it doesn't happen.
At the end of the hard-fought trials, Dennis Conner in his red yacht Liberty is selected to defend the Cup again. Alan Bond's white-hulled Australia II, skippered by John Bertrand, emerges almost invincible, having lost only 6 of the 54 Challenger trial races. The first to win 4 races out of 7 wins the Cup. In its long history of the previous 82 final races, Challengers have won only 8. In the first race, the lead changes several times, and the yachts are practically level for much of the race. But then, Australia's steering pulley wire suddenly breaks. She slews sideways, almost stopping, letting Liberty escape to win by just over a minute. The second race. In the aggressive jockeying for position before the gun, equipment failure strikes Australia again. The sail slips and tears. As the race begins, a crewman is sent aloft to lash the sail to the mast. Australia keeps her speed, but Bertrand allows Conner to slip past him. Liberty leads 2-0. The end of the third race sees Australia at last free of equipment failures, and she demonstrates her true form in dazzling style. She has inflicted the greatest defeat on an American yacht in the history of the Cup by 3 minutes and 14 seconds. The Americans call a lay day to work on Liberty and move the mast forward. These alterations during the finals outrage the Australians.
I think that's probably what it is one or two of the Commodores currently obsessed with winning at any cost.
During the summer weeks, the New York Yacht Club made several attempts to disqualify Australia, contending that the Dutch were responsible for the design of the mysterious winged keel rather than the Australian designer Ben Lexon. Lexon's casual manner belies the constant pressure provoked by his controversial design. Bus Mossbacher.
Dutch newspapers claiming that they had designed the keel. And once again, our fiduciary responsibility made it absolutely necessary that we pursue that.
We weren't trying to question any honesty or integrity. We were just trying to find facts. I'm not one of those that believes in how you play the game that counts. I think you shouldn't. The only way to play the game is to play it to win.
To win, Conner needs only one more race. The Australians will have to take the next 3 races in a row. Bertrand continues to lose the starts, but he and his crew sail like men possessed to take the next 2 races. For the first time in the history of the Cup, a deciding race is necessary. In near-perfect conditions, Liberty wins the start to take the lead. After 3.5 hours, she is still ahead. With about 50 minutes to go, Bertrand takes Australia way out to the right of the course to find more wind, and Conner lets him go. On the other side of the world, Australia has been up all night, and in the early hours of the morning, the nation urges on its champions. 10 minutes from the last turning mark, having found some wind, Bertrand tacks back and slips into the lead. During the last 4.5 miles, the Australians hold off the Americans' desperate counterattacks and cross the line into the history books, legend, and glorious immortality as national heroes. Prime Minister Bob Hawke joins in the celebrations at the Royal Perth Yacht Club.
There's not many occasions when an Australian Prime Minister knows that he can speak for every Australian, but on this occasion, we say, well done, congratulations. I don't think there's been a greater moment of pride for Australia than in what you've done. Not only winning, but the way you won.
In Newport, the cry goes up to see the keel.
It isn't the trophy yet. This is the bolt that's kept the cup in place for 132 years.
The Americans have held it for so long, it would be a great break with tradition if it wasn't continued to be called the America's Cup.
As in that first challenge of 1851, a brash, innovative challenger has taken the cup from an entrenched establishment. But whatever the technology and wherever the battlefield, men will still gather with an obsessive determination to win at all costs.